I want to ask you about your opinion on maybe a player, that might come out in training camp and shock people. I know it's hard without, having seen these guys over the offseason. They're doing their own thing. But if there's one guy you had to come out and either predict, might make a statement or might, improve drastically or just something that might catch us by the blind side, is there any player that you have on your mind or just any story maybe, that comes to mind?
I am buying all of the Anthony Melton stock early on. He's my pick right now. I sleeper pick for sixth man of the year.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I wrote all of this in my story that I just wrote, but I'm not bullish on him as a playmaker because he just doesn't have a much history of being a lead ball handler and creating for others. But the way that he moves, I see a lot of like CJ McCollum in the way that he moves. I see some Klay Thompson in the way that he moves. He hasn't had the results to mimic either player to date, but his body language is really good. I think his vertical pop at the rim is outstanding. He's a crafty finisher. He's had some success shooting the ball off the catch, with some increased opportunity to sort of play with the ball in his hands more so than he had in Memphis. Because keep in mind, Memphis, you have Ja, but you also then have arguably the best backup point guard in the league in Tyus Jones. So he was always a secondary guy in the rotation to them. But now, he's in a spot where it's just like, you are a fixture of our rotation as a guard. You're going to have a chance to operate at your own pace. I think that's somebody that could really come out and shock just because his 3-point shooting has been upwards trending. He's slowly a little bit more comfortable creating for himself off the dribble. He can shoot off screens and navigate screens. And I think he's somebody that could catch some eyes early on.
I like it, man. And I'm guessing if Melton's your guy that you think is going to stand out, I mean, it's all but likely he would probably end up taking a lot of minutes from Shake Milton, right? I mean, Shake's another one. Been here, 3, 4, 5 years, and it's like, is he ever going to show us what he showed us in that little glimpse? I always go back to that game where he torched Doc Rivers on the Clippers. Will we ever get that Shake Milton, or do you think he's going to be, just kind of fading out of the rotation?
Yeah, I think Shake is going to be like one of the last couple guys in the rotation. I think he'll have chances just because he's so long. Like I'm intrigued by a backcourt, the second unit backcourt that is Milton and Melton, just because they're both guys that have very positive wingspans. They're both very lanky. They're long. They can shoot a little bit. They're okay ball handlers in their own rights, but I think Shake has a chance to maybe take on a little bit less of a responsibility, just be like a stationary shooter, handle the ball a little bit. But I think it takes a lot of pressure off him to be this this Swiss Army knife of a ball handler, and he'll have chances. But I think he's somebody who you're like, how many more times can you play the guy and expect a different result?
If you had to predict, you had to go out, Austin Krell, as of today, 5 days before training camp, a lot can change, but I believe right now we got to cut 2 players before the regular season. If you had to go out on a limb and give me a prediction, which 2 guys will be the odd men out? What do you think?
I'm going with Trevelyan Queen, and I think I'm going with Charles Bassey.
Wow. Sixers fans aren't going to like that one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think even if you don't sign Montrezl Harrell, you're probably giving those minutes to Paul Reed because I thought he was really good in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I just don't know like what the opportunity looks like for him. I will say that I think whether you go Montrez and Paul Reed or Paul Reed and Charles Bassey, the Sixers have a lot of like optionality in their backup center position, which is not something you could say ever in the last handful of years under Joel. So I mean, they can go just pit bull in the paint with Montrez. They can go vertical, spacer with Bassey. They can go just a screen and dive super athlete and Paul Reed. They have a lot of options. And so, I'll be interested to see how that plays out. But I think right now, it just makes the most sense if it's Trev Queen and Charles Bassey.
Perfect.